Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Indiana Sports Now with Kent Sterling. It's Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. We're brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry. You don't like pain? You got a lot of work that needs to be done? Try sedation dentistry at Today's Dentistry by the great Dr. Mike O'Neill. 317-849-2933 is the number. Punch subscribe, hit like, ring the bell. Let's talk about sports. You know, the Indianapolis Colts, they're back to work at this kind of compromise OTA business. 2 weeks of work, but no mandatory minicamp come June. So through this 2 weeks, the Colts are going to try to see who they are, how healthy they are. Some of the guys coming back from injuries. One of those guys who is really a linchpin as to how the Colts are going to be able to play this coming year, that's Parris Campbell. You talk to people around town about guys who could really make this team better through their presence or through their absence, make them less dynamic. First one out of people's mouths, Parris Campbell. Parris Campbell, wide receiver out of Ohio State, through his first 2 seasons, he has played 9 of a possible 33 games. That's not good enough, and Parris Campbell knows it. He's got to put together a healthy season. We had a chance to catch up with Parris Campbell today. First, he was asked how he's doing.
Yeah, things been going great. I actually got cleared. I'm 100% as of last week, so it feels good to be back out there having fun, so everything's good.
And how frustrating has this been for Parris? He talked about it.
No, I think that's a great word. Obviously, it's been things that's out of my control. Some of these injuries are, just freak injuries. But it's definitely been frustrating. But I'm also motivated, for what's ahead.
And what's the key for him to bounce back strong?
I think the biggest thing for me is going to be going in this season and not thinking about those things. Because then I feel like you play timid, play nervous. So just going there with a clear head.
Parris Campbell changed his number from 15 to 1. Why?
That's honestly what's the main reason for that. I just needed to be in something new. Definitely a fresh start.
And why did he choose the number 1?
I don't know. I think it looks fast on the field. So hopefully they make it look a little faster on me.
The Colts, the more I look at the schedule, the more they look like an 11-6 team. It's weird. We used to know that the wins and losses had to add up to 16. Now it's 17, but I think we're adjusting well. We're not saying 11-5. We're not saying 12-4. We're saying, or 10-6. We're saying 11-6. When you look at those first 5 games, man, if they could go 3-2 in those first 5 games, that'd be a hell of a thing. They open up at home against the Seahawks and the Rams. Then they go on the road for 3 games. They've got the Titans. They can beat the Titans, right, in the 3rd game of the season. In the 5th game of the season, they've got a game at Baltimore. And the middle one might be the easiest. That one is against the Miami Dolphins. If they split the first 2 and win 2 of the next 3, that's 3-2. And that really sets them up for a final 12 games of the season where, if they split them, you know what? That's not good enough. However, if you can beat the Jets and the Raiders as well as the Jaguars twice and the Texans twice, then that's 6 games that we can remove, and we're talking about a 9-2 team with 6 games left. Those 6 games, if they split, there is where you get to 12-5. I think it looks more like 11-6. I think they finish that first 5-game stretch at 2-3. I'd love to see them go 3-2, but a lot of things have to happen for them to go 3-2. And Eric Fisher being healthy for a good portion of those 5 games, really important than Parris Campbell, like we said. Him being healthy for those 5 games, really important as well, because let's face it, he's dynamic, and he's got stuff that nobody else on that team's got. He's got flat-out run-away-from-you speed, and nobody else on that team has it. Not T.Y. Hilton, not Michael Pittman. You've got to have Parris Campbell if you want that dynamism to stretch the defense and take the free safeties and drop them back about 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. If you've got Parris Campbell, you can absolutely do that. We'll see what the Colts do. I think it's going to be fascinating. I can't wait for this season to start, and we are still just under 4 months away. Practice continues at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we get ready for qualifications this weekend, and a week from Sunday, of course, the Indianapolis 500. There's still no official word on whether the race is going to be blacked out or not, which kind of hints to the fact that it will not be blacked out. If it were going to be blacked out, I think we'd have heard about it. But they want to sell the tickets. They want to get as much for the radio network spots as they can in Indianapolis, obviously their biggest market. And it is adversely affected if the ratings are, if that race is available on television. Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers. Pacers were phenomenal last night, right? They beat the Hornets 144-117. O'Shea Brissett was unbelievable. Domas Sabonis, good. Didn't know if he was going to play until later in the day yesterday. He played. Malcolm Brogdon played. He was good. T.J. McConnell played. He was good. Doug McDermott did something that nobody in the NBA has done all season, and that scored 14 points in the first 5 minutes of the game. So things went really, really well for the Pacers last night against the Hornets. Because they won, they move on in this play-in deal, and they travel to Washington tomorrow night to take on the Wizards. Now, the Wizards have seemed to have the Pacers' numbers. So today, we heard from Nate Bjorkgren, a Zoom call with the media. He was asked what the Pacers have to do to take care of the Washington Wizards and beat them.
To play at the tempo, to control the tempo and the pace that we want to play at. Westbrook will rebound that thing and push it on the dribble, push it on the throw ahead. Their bigs run the floor very well. They got shooters running, to the wings and to the corners, and Beal and Bertans and Neto and Ish Smith will push it. So transition is number one, and taking care of the ball and being efficient on offense for us is very important as well.
So does Bjorkgren want to slow it down tomorrow night?
What the important thing on that is we want to play with pace, and we want to play with the force that we play at, because I think that's when we're at our best. Okay. That's when it's even when our defense is more active and more connected. But the important thing is when we do get into the half court, that we really change sides of the floor with that basketball. That's more of meaning of controlling the tempo there. And we're in that half court, we got to take care of the ball. If we're loose with the basketball, and coughing it up, they're gonna go the other way with it and really, really try to attack that way. So it's more of being efficient in our sets when it's time to run our sets. And continue the cutting that we're doing, the screening that we're doing, the weak side movement, and just to change the basketball from side to side.
And how'd the Pacers leave last night's game from a health perspective? Injuries?
I think about the same. Edmund Sumner got pulled out of that game with his quad injury, but again today in this morning for treatment, and they'll treat him again once we land in Washington. So, but I believe everybody else is the same. Miles Turner's out there on the floor, shooting the basketball a little bit. He's a ways away, but I think everybody else is as is.
That's Nate Bjorkgren. 8 o'clock tomorrow night, the play-in game. You win, you're in. Between the Wizards and the Pacers. Pacers have been really good on the road. One of the best road teams in the NBA, certainly one of the best in the Eastern Conference, if not the best in the Eastern Conference. So when they go on the road, it's not time to say, oh no, they're on the road. What are we doing? At home, they're not so good. On the road, they've been terrific. We'll see what they can do tomorrow night against the Wizards, who got beat last night by the Boston Celtics. I want to talk about Kwame Brown for a minute. Kwame Brown is a really interesting guy. He was the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2001 NBA draft, and he is lauded, I guess, as being one of the great stiffs, one of the great bad picks in the history of the draft. Did not live up to that number 1 selection, right? That pedigree. However, he did play for 12 years, and he made almost $64 million while he did it. With that $64 million, which he seems to have managed quite nicely, it would seem, he has not needed to go get a job. He has no boss, and because he has no boss, he can say anything that he wants on social media, and that's what he does. He has figured out that going after Stephen A. Smith and anyone else who kind of crosses his path is pretty good policy for building numbers. He has become that click guy. He is amassing a bunch of clicks by going after everybody who comes after him. And he does it in a way that's really interesting. Number one, it's so profane. People are not going to listen to the message. The use of the N-word, absolutely, I mean, it's every 5 words. He uses the N-word. The N-word has no place in my mouth, in my ears, in my heart, in my head. No place in any of those spots, so really listening is almost painful. Other language is also very, very objectionable. I think he's more NC-17 than R-rated. But what he talks about, the accountability of a human being, the devotion to family, I think is really, really important. And while he's honest and seemingly a bit nuts, man, if you can kind of dodge the profanity and the N-word everywhere, you can kind of see the heart of a pretty good man and a guy who does the right thing by those who are around him. And so I spent a lot of the time today watching Kwame Brown. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to advise you to do it because, frankly, the use of the N-word and profanity is so objectionable, I would never send anybody to his Instagram feed or his YouTube channel. But I think he is an interesting cat. Tony La Russa. I don't get this. The Chicago White Sox hired Tony La Russa, age 76, hasn't managed in the majors since the Cardinals won the World Series in 2011. And people are, the game's passed him by. He can't relate to young players. This is a tragedy. What has Jerry Reinsdorf done, the owner of the White Sox? Well, you know what he's done. Tony La Russa has led the Chicago White Sox to the second best record in baseball, first place in the American League Central, and the highest run differential, the most positive run differential in baseball. And still, people are crapping all over him because every once in a while he forgets one of the new rules or he kind of goes old school on a guy. I don't get it. This guy can manage at the age of 76 better than anybody in the game, and still Chicago media craps all over him, and I just don't understand. I don't understand ageism. 76, 70 schmicks. If you can manage, you can manage, and Tony La Russa has been outstanding for the Chicago White Sox. They are beating American League teams with kind of this old-fashioned baseball that I think is very cool. They actually have role players up and down the lineup. They got guys who are paid to make contact with the ball. Instead of having 8 position players and a DH who can all hit 35 home runs, the White Sox have guys who put it in play. Go figure that winds up being successful. Tomorrow morning, talking about the Colts, talking about the Pacers. Cannot wait to talk to you then. All brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry. Live 6 o'clock on Facebook Live, and then immediately thereafter on YouTube and every place you are consuming this. Wherever you're getting this, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe. We'll talk to you tomorrow.